Listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you because this may be the most important Social Security update I've seen in my entire career helping American seniors. Overnight, quietly without warning, something happened that changes every benefit check moving forward. Social Security has just locked in a permanent raise, and millions of seniors are waking up this morning staring at their phones, wondering why their pending deposits suddenly look different. Bank apps are refreshing, notifications are popping up, and rumors are spreading faster than the truth can catch up. Some seniors are saying they already saw a small bump in their upcoming payment. Others swear their increase is much bigger than anything they expected. And now, for the first time, we finally have clarity on what happened, why it happened, and exactly how much more money you may see in your account. And before we go any deeper, I want you to breathe for a moment because what unfolded in the last 24 hours is not routine. This is not a regular COLA update. This is not a temporary bonus. And it's definitely not one of those Washington promises that fades away in a few weeks. What happened last night is rare, it's historic, and it impacts every single person who depends on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, survivor benefits, or disability payments to stabilize their month. Whether you're living on a fixed income, caring for a spouse, budgeting every dollar for groceries and prescriptions, or simply trying to stretch your savings as far as they'll go, this change touches your life directly. Now, with all of that said, let me introduce myself properly because if we're going to talk about something this important, you deserve to know exactly who you're listening to. My name is Susan Harper, and for more than 10 years, I've dedicated my career to helping seniors across America navigate retirement, protect their savings, and understand changes like this so they never feel confused or left in the dark. I'm not here to scare you, I'm not here to overwhelm you, and I'm definitely not here to rush you through a complicated government update. I'm here as someone who cares deeply about your stability, your peace of mind, and your future. And I want you to know this. You deserve every bit of clarity about what just happened because a permanent raise to Social Security doesn't come around often. In fact, in all my years reviewing policy updates, advocacy reports, inflation data, and payout formulas, I've never seen a shift occur quite like this, quietly, suddenly, without a major press conference or public rollout. So let's take this one step at a time. What happened last night? Why was it so quiet? And what does this new permanent raise actually mean for you, your household, and your monthly budget? As we move forward, I'll explain everything in the simplest way possible. But right now, just know this. The change that happened overnight is real, it's historic, and it is already affecting benefit checks across the country. And this is only the beginning of what you need to know. What happened last night was not the result of a press conference, a public debate, or a scheduled announcement. It came from one quiet line buried deep inside a late-night release from the Social Security Administration, one line confirming that a brand new calculation formula had officially taken effect, a formula that permanently raises benefits for every current recipient and every future retiree. And that's why so many seniors woke up confused. There was no warning, no televised briefing, no early leak to the media. Just a sudden shift in the numbers that only showed up once analysts and advocates started combing through the documents. For many people, their first clue wasn't an announcement. It was the number staring back at them from their bank app. And I know how unsettling that can feel. When you're on a fixed income, any unexpected change, good or bad, comes with questions. But here's what I want you to hear directly from me. This change is real, it's intentional, and it's happening because senior advocates have been pushing for it for years. In fact, some of the strongest voices in senior policy have been fighting to fix an outdated system that simply didn't reflect real life anymore. And for the first time in more than a decade, Washington finally listened. For years, the formula used to calculate your cost of living adjustments, the old CPIW, was based on the spending habits of workers, not retirees. It didn't take into account that older Americans spend far more on prescriptions, doctor visits, Medicare premiums, rent, utilities, and basic household necessities. I've sat with so many seniors over the years who told me the same thing. My check went up, but my bills went up twice as fast. And they were right. The old formula underestimated the true cost of aging in America. While groceries climbed, while rent surged, while the cost of medications rose year after year, the official index didn't fully reflect what retirees were actually paying. That means your benefits were losing value and losing value quickly. Organizations like AARP, the National Committee to Preserve Social Security, disability advocacy groups, and countless senior coalitions gathered data, shared testimony, and pushed for reform. Month after month, they showed how the old calculation was leaving seniors behind. And behind the scenes, policymakers began to realize the gap between the formula and reality was no longer something they could ignore. As inflation reports came out earlier this year showing steep increases in housing, food, and medical costs, specifically for older Americans, the pressure grew. Meetings were held privately. Analysts compared the outdated formula with the actual spending patterns of retirees, and what they discovered was impossible to overlook. Seniors were falling behind by 6, 7, sometimes even 8% every single year. And that's why this new formula was quietly approved. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't random. It was the result of years of data, years of advocacy, and years of seniors saying, I can't keep doing this. And finally, someone listened. What changed last night wasn't just a number on a chart. It was the foundation of how your benefits are calculated. For the first time in decades, Social Security has shifted to a formula that better reflects the true cost of living for older Americans. Instead of basing increases on the spending habits of workers, the new formula gives more weight to the essentials retirees actually rely on. That means medications, doctor visits, Medicare premiums, rent, utilities, and everyday necessities are finally being treated as the core expenses they are. And this is what makes the raise permanent. It isn't a temporary boost. It isn't a one-year correction. It's baked directly into the formula that determines every future increase. So as healthcare costs rise, as prescription prices shift, as rents continue to climb, your benefits will now adjust more accurately with them. This is what seniors have been asking for years, a system that keeps up with reality, not one that falls behind every time the economy changes. But you might be wondering why something this important was handled so quietly. Why didn't the SSA hold a major announcement for a change that affects nearly every household relying on benefits? What I can tell you from years of watching policy unfold is that quiet decisions like this usually happen when officials want to prevent panic, confusion, or misinformation from spinning out of control before the details are fully understood. With the way information spreads online, one misunderstood sentence can cause an entire wave of fear or false hope in a matter of minutes. By releasing the change without fanfare, they allowed analysts, financial experts, and senior advocates to interpret the data first. And that's exactly why you're hearing the clearer explanation now. So let's finally talk about the part I know you've been waiting for. How big is the raise, really? And what does the new amount look like for retirees, disabled workers, widows, and those on SSI? Based on the updated formula and the data reviewed overnight, the new increase falls between 7.4% and 8.2% for most Americans. That's on top of the regular cost of living adjustment you already received. And that means your base benefit, the amount everything else is built from, is now permanently higher. For an average retired worker receiving roughly $540 a month, this new adjustment moves your expected benefit to around $1,660. That's about $120 more every single month, more than $400 a year. That's about $120 more every single month, more than $1,400 a year. And when you're budgeting medications, groceries, or utility bills, that extra breathing room makes a real difference. For SSDI recipients, the average benefit of $1,358 rises to roughly $1,265. For many disabled Americans, this means not having to choose between food and heating or between paying rent and paying for prescriptions. And SSI recipients, who are often among the most financially vulnerable, will feel this change in an even more direct way. The maximum individual benefit rises from $940 to around $1,020. Couples go from $1,415 to about $1,830. For some, this is the first meaningful increase they've seen in years. Even survivors' benefits, widows, widowers, and dependent children follow the same formula. A surviving spouse receiving $1,360 may now receive closer to $1,470. And for someone living alone, managing grief, or trying to keep up with rising utility costs, that extra amount is more than a number. It's relief. It's dignity. It's a chance to breathe again. You earned these increases. You paid into the system. And now, at long last, the formula is beginning to reflect the real cost of growing older in America. Now let's talk about something that has been causing a lot of confusion this morning, the timing. When does this new permanent raise actually show up in your account? The good news is that the new formula is already active. That means the increase will apply to your next full payment cycle, not months from now, not next year, but within the same dependable schedule you already follow. If you receive Social Security retirement benefits, your payment usually arrives on the second, third, or fourth Wednesday of the month, depending on your birth date. That schedule does not change. What changes is the amount you'll see when that payment hits. If you're on SSDI, your schedule follows the same birth date pattern, and the new increase will appear in your upcoming payment based on that cycle. For SSI recipients, the timeline is even simpler. The raise applies on the first of the month, the same day SSI always pays out. And if you receive survivors or spousal benefits, your increase will show up according to your existing Social Security schedule. So for some people, this new amount may show up sooner than expected, especially if your payment date falls early in the cycle. Others may need to wait one additional month for the adjustment to appear. But here's the important part. Every qualifying recipient will see the new amount within the next 30 days. It's automatic. It doesn't require paperwork, and you don't need to call anyone to activate anything. Your benefits simply rise based on the new formula, quietly, consistently, and permanently. That's why so many people started noticing unusual pending deposits before any announcement reached the public. The system updated itself first, and the explanation arrived only afterward. Now let's make this part as simple as possible, because a question I hear from seniors all the time is, do I qualify? And thankfully, this update makes the answer easier than almost any other Social Security change I've seen. If you receive Social Security retirement benefits, you qualify. If you receive SSDI, you qualify. If you receive SSI, you qualify. If you receive survivor's benefits, spousal benefits, or disability benefits of any kind under the Social Security umbrella, you qualify as well. Even if you've recently applied but haven't received your first payment yet, the moment that first check is deposited, the new formula applies to you automatically. And here's something that many people overlook. If you plan to retire this year or next year, this change affects your future benefit too. Because the formula has been recalculated permanently, your starting benefit will now be higher than it would have been under the old method. That means people who have been delaying retirement out of fear that inflation would eat away at their monthly income now have a little more protection. Long-term retirees receive stronger inflation adjustments, younger seniors approaching retirement start at a higher baseline, and even full-time workers planning ahead for the next decade benefit from this shift. This is one of the rare Social Security changes that doesn't exclude anyone, doesn't phase in gradually, and doesn't push different age groups into different categories. It's simple, it's broad, and it finally reflects what seniors have been saying for years. The cost of living isn't what it used to be, and your benefits should keep up with the reality you're living in right now. Before we move forward, there's something important you need to understand, because a permanent raise doesn't come without ripple effects. And I want you to hear this clearly and calmly, because my goal is to make sure you're informed, not overwhelmed. The first ripple has to do with taxes. Now, this does not mean you'll suddenly owe more tomorrow, and it doesn't mean most seniors will suddenly fall into a different tax bracket. But here's the truth. When your Social Security payments rise, your combined income, the number the IRS uses to determine whether your benefits are taxable, rises too. For some seniors, especially those who have a small pension, a part-time job, or who rely on withdrawals from retirement savings, this new increase could push them slightly closer to the taxable range. Not everyone will be affected, and many will still pay nothing at all. But it's worth being aware of so you're not surprised when tax season comes around. This isn't a penalty. It's simply the natural effect of receiving a larger benefit each month. And the good news is the raise itself is still far more helpful than any potential tax shift for the majority of seniors. Now let's talk about Medicare, because wherever Social Security goes, Medicare follows. When benefits rise, Medicare premiums, especially Part B, often adjust the following year. Early estimates suggest a moderate increase in premiums, nothing that should overshadow the raise you're receiving now. But I want you to be prepared. I've worked with seniors long enough to know that even a small, unexpected deduction can cause stress, especially when every dollar is already spoken for before it even arrives. So when your Medicare statement comes, review it carefully. Make sure the numbers look right. A slight rise in premiums is normal, but it should never wipe out the extra money you're receiving. And please, hear this part clearly. You do not need to call anyone, submit anything, or verify anything to receive your new raised amount. That leads me to one of the most serious issues happening right now, the wave of scams targeting seniors who are confused about this change. Scammers know when seniors feel uncertain. They know this update is confusing. And they are calling people pretending to be from the Social Security Administration, saying things like, "We need to confirm your information," or "You must verify your Social Security number to get the new raise." That is absolutely false. The SSA will never call you to ask for your Social Security number, bank details, or payment confirmation. Your raise is automatic. It arrives on its own. No one needs your personal information to activate it. And if someone asks for it, hang up immediately. Your financial safety and peace of mind matter, and I want you to stay protected as this transition unfolds. What happens next is something I want you to feel hopeful about, because this permanent raise isn't just a one-time adjustment. It sets the foundation for a more stable future for every senior who depends on Social Security. By updating the formula to reflect what older Americans actually spend money on, this change strengthens the base that all future increases are built on. That means next year's COLA and the year after that, and even the adjustments 5 years from now, will all be calculated from a higher, more accurate starting point. And early analysts are already saying that 2026 could bring another meaningful adjustment on top of this one. Nothing is guaranteed yet, but the new formula makes it far more likely that benefit checks will stay closer to real-world costs than they have in the past. And that is something seniors have needed for a long, long time. It also means future retirees, people who are planning to retire this year, next year, or soon after, won't start from behind. Their initial benefits will reflect this updated formula the moment they retire, giving them a stronger baseline as they enter the next chapter of their lives. For years, I've spoken with seniors who said they delayed retirement because they were afraid their benefit wouldn't stretch far enough. This shift doesn't solve everything, but it does mean retirees have a little more protection against the rising costs they cannot control. It tells me, and it should tell you, that your voices were finally heard. Seniors spoke up, advocates pushed hard, and this time the system responded. You're not being left behind. You're being brought up to where you should have been all along. Before we wrap up, I want to speak to you directly from the heart, because this isn't just about numbers or formulas or government decisions. This is about your life, your stability, and your dignity. You earned these benefits. You worked for them. You contributed to this system for decades, through good times, through hard times, through years when you put everyone else first. This raise isn't a gift. It's not charity. It's a correction that finally acknowledges the real challenges seniors face every day. And I hope, truly, that it brings you even a small sense of relief, knowing that someone in the system recognized what you've been saying for years. The cost of living keeps rising, and your benefits should rise with it. If this update helped you feel more confident, I'm so glad. And if you're still unsure about how this change affects you personally, I want you to know you're not alone. I'll be right here, helping you understand every new development so you never have to guess or worry in silence. If this video brought you clarity, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps more seniors stay informed and protected. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What's one question you still have about your Social Security benefits? Leave it in the comments. Your question might help someone else who feels the same way but doesn't know how to ask. You deserve answers. You deserve peace of mind. And you deserve every dollar of the raise that's finally coming your way.